Welcome to Feedstuffs 365 and National Hog Farmer. I'm Ann Hess. This week, the U.S. pork industry was dealt a major blow when the United States Supreme Court rejected an appeal by the National Pork Producers Council and the American Farm Bureau Federation challenging California's controversial Proposition 12. While the Supreme Court ruled that the case was properly dismissed by lower courts, it still leaves many unanswered questions about industry-wide changes, pork prices, exports, and future legal challenges. Joining us to discuss the SCOTUS decision for the U.S. pork industry is NPPC President Scott Hayes and NPPC Chief Legal Strategist Michael Formica. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Michael, let's start with that 5-4 decision yesterday. In his majority opinion, Justice Gorsuch said that the responsibility of regulating the pork industry falls on Congress, and the court doesn't have any authority to overturn a state law. What's NPPC's position on that? Is there an opportunity to take this issue to our legislators?
Well, we're very disappointed in the court's decision. We clearly disagree, and I think the decision that the court reached is all over the place. There are a number of different justices taking different positions, and there's a majority of justices who actually agreed with us that what we've described Prop 12 doing does in fact cause substantial harm, or at least appears to cause substantial harm to interstate commerce and to the interstate trade and the pork industry. Unfortunately, as you pointed out, there were 5 justices who think this belongs in the political sphere and is not something judges can handle. In fact, Amy Coney Barrett had a separate opinion and said judges, essentially, she said judges aren't equipped to judge. Well, that's what the job of judges is, but again, we're disappointed, and we're looking at opportunities here with Congress and at the state level as well. There's still a number of opportunities to push back.
Now, I believe Justice Gorsuch and even Justice Kavanaugh in his dissent seem to leave the door open to future challenges, noting laws like this could potentially call into question other constitutional provisions, including the Import-Export Clause, the Privileges and Immunities Clause, and the Full Faith and Credit Clause. Is there an opportunity for NPPC and Farm Bureau to take further legal action? Michael?
So that's a great question. With regard to this case itself that we filed, our challenge to Prop 12 is over the Supreme Court. Affirm the dismissal of the case from the lower court. Whether another group is able to raise those challenges remains to be seen. Certainly, this is an area, and I think that's what the justices were speaking to. This is an area that is still an area of the law that's still very complicated. As we're seeing these battles brewing between states over all sorts of competing moral concerns, they're expecting to see a lot more litigation, a lot more challenges, and I would not be surprised to see further legal action in that regard. But as far as the NPPC Farm Bureau case is concerned, this was the end.
Scott, let's turn to you. Challenges and legislation aside, let's talk about what's next with this law, the enforcement. When's this going to go into effect, and how will it be enforced or audited? Do you expect to see Prop 12 specific production systems and harvesting plants?
Yeah, we're not sure when it'll go into effect. There's that still needs to be worked out with the state of California, and they haven't been very forthcoming with rules and with the regulation themselves. We know that they've got to get onto farms and inspect farms for them to be compliant, and they've got a lot of work to do on their end. As far as farms specific for Prop 12, that's up to each individual farmer, how they raise their pigs. That's been our argument all along. That should be left up to the farmer, not to any state. The farmer's the expert on pig production. And with harvest facilities, I don't know how those systems will identify the product. Obviously, they have to segregate product and get it to California. So it requires some challenges there, and all of this just adds cost. And that's the biggest concern is at this point is, what's it going to cost the consumers in California to enjoy a high quality, tasty protein that we want to provide every day.
That leads me to my next question for you, Scott, as NPPC president. How ready is the industry to comply with these new requirements?
The industry's been looking at this for a while, but I don't have good numbers on that. That's up to each individual producer on what they think they want to do. And like I said, there's no compliant farms today because no one has a certificate from the state of California that says they're compliant. So I don't know how quick they'll do that, how quick they'll get that out. And then obviously it adds a lot of cost to the farm. And at a time when producers are really hurting, our production costs are very high, and our market prices are not very good. Most producers are losing a significant amount of money right now. And this is going to cause more pain in the industry and less product for consumers.
And Michael, when we're talking about pricing and supply, we've got to think about the consumers as well. What should the consumers expect to see in California, but nationwide as well?
Yeah, ultimately, this case was about the freedom of farmers to farm and how they're going to farm, and farm in a way that they believe is in the best interest and welfare of their animals. But it's also about the ability to supply food to help feed the citizens of California. There are 40 million people who live there, and most of them did not vote for this. They're going to wake up here, next month in July and go shopping, try and buy a pork chop for the family, try and buy bacon for the family, and they're going to begin seeing some additional pressure on the availability of product and then the pricing of that. Food is going to get more expensive.
How does this decision affect trade as well, and even pigs being shipped down from Canada?
Well,
Michael, I don't know if you want to take that, or Scott, go ahead.
Those pigs will have to be compliant as well if the meat from those pigs is going to go into California. So it's a challenge for all of North America or any country that sells some product into the U.S.
Yeah, but ultimately, import requirements for pigs, for pork products coming into the U.S., that's something negotiated between governments at the federal level, not through states. And so we're trying to coordinate and communicate with our trading partners and with the federal government about this and the Supreme Court's ruling. The law in California applies to all pork, all uncooked whole cuts of pork sold in the state. And so to the extent there is imported pork making its way there, California would say it needs to be compliant with Proposition 12, but that is certainly an area that remains to be worked through further.
Michael, what do we expect from other states? I know Massachusetts was also set to impose a retail sales ban on pork from confinement operations that weren't in compliance with their state law. And in 2022, believe they suspended that enforcement to begin 30 days after this ruling. Do we expect more states to follow California's lead?
Only time will tell. The animal rights groups are not going to stop here in California, and that's always been our concern. That's why we're in this fight. We're fighting for farmers and the right to run and manage their farm every single day. Massachusetts has a very similar standard that is set to take effect in 30 days. There are additional challenges with that, and with the way Massachusetts is indicated they are going to implement those regulations, that they would cut off shipments of pork not just into Massachusetts, but then pork that's traveling through Massachusetts to Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, Connecticut, all of which receive pork through distribution points in Massachusetts. We are engaged. NPPC is engaged throughout the country. We are watching and are preparing and fully expect animal rights groups to come back, and they're going to build on Prop 12, and their ultimate goal isn't anything short of getting people to stop eating meat.
So as we wrap up here, just a question to both of you. What's NPP's next steps? What can producers expect to see in the next few weeks and months?
Our next step is to ensure a smooth transition for California consumers, and minimize the effect that this will have on them. Our concern has always been with the consumers, and because we want them to enjoy this product, they need it for their families. So that's where we're at today, is helping make this a smooth transition, and just go from there and do the best we can, raising our pigs with standards that was set by some folks that really don't know much about raising pigs.
Michael, any other final comments?
No, I think Scott got it right. We're going to look and work on the implementation of this, and ensure that producers can, to the extent they can continue to move product into California, that there are people there that need to be fed, and we're as I mentioned, preparing and ready to defend the industry going forward.
National Pork Producer Council Scott Hayes and Michael Formica, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For you and our audience, we thank you for tuning in. For more coverage and conversation on pork industry related topics, be sure to check out the live and on-demand section of Feedstuffs 365. For Feedstuffs 365 and National Hog Farmer, I'm Ann Hess.